on the story and bring in the head of the Gender Justice Program for the Center for Applied Legal Studies, Dr. Sheena Swemmer. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's such an incredibly difficult testimony to listen to, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, it is some of the most egregious forms of sexual harassment, as well as the most common. So it really is both of those things at once, but incredibly difficult. And difficult for those who have gone through this type of thing to hear another victim speak about this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've been talking a lot about whether the discussions between the complainant here and the Eastern Cape Judge President were consensual, perhaps whether she has responded in a way that indulged the messages that he sent to her. But Dr. Swemmer, does that matter in a case where he is the head of the judiciary in the Eastern Cape, she is a secretary in his office, or is it just a matter of an abuse of power?
So I would definitely say you would focus on the abuse of power relationship, even in our Sexual Offences Act. And I'm not saying that what the allegations are here equal sexual offences per se, but we have an acknowledgement that differential power relationships can negate consent. Mm-hmm. That's already in our law. So with regards to other things like sexual harassment, a lot of these things are replicated. So for a judge president not to be aware of differential power relations is almost ludicrous, where individuals, and especially so in a system, a court system, you know, even the normal person on the street is terrified of the legal system, its symbolic power. So when you're in this position of absolute power, it's very strange that you wouldn't be aware of that position, the symbolic position, the position you are in as a boss or a line manager to someone. So no, these things are already in law.
Dr. Swemmer, you know, we've been talking with our reporter, Junior Kumalo, about the possible permutations of the outcome of this judicial inquiry, whether there is an impeachment situation that happens or whether indeed the Eastern Cape Judge President could be exonerated. If indeed he's exonerated, I want to speak about both of those possibilities. If indeed he's exonerated as a start, in a country like ours, with the levels of gender-based violence that we face in South Africa, would that make his job particularly difficult? My question is, how would he preside over cases of a similar nature?
I mean, in terms of then, if he was exonerated, we take the view that the panel found that there was enough evidence that he had not committed these actions. What more of this is that, moreover, there is definitely something that will attach to him now, especially when you see the evidence before the tribunal of his conduct to junior staff and specifically this individual. So it would be very interesting to see how he presides over cases that involve gender-based violence. But in terms of the law, he would have been exonerated. Mm-hmm. So there wouldn't actually be a problem in terms of law, but it would be a very, perhaps morally difficult place to be.
And the alternative here?
The alternative insofar as if he is found guilty of the misconduct.
Indeed, yeah.
And well, that would be bearing the evidence in mind, that would be a milestone in South African law, having a judge president, having had to go through this process, the first of its kind, and then having to potentially be impeached will be groundbreaking. In terms of gender-based violence and in terms of, vulnerable individuals in the country, it will set a strong word to all of those individuals in the judiciary, not just the judiciary, but perhaps even the legal profession, that this type of action or these types of actions are not tolerated. Mm. And that's something we need. So that side of the equation or the outcome is a very exciting one if it comes to that, but we have to weigh up the evidence and see. Right. The panel has to weigh up the evidence and see.
Yeah, it has to be backed up by evidence. I mean, the secretary, Andiswa Mengo, alleges that Judge Mbenenge hounded her for sex after she repeatedly said no. You've also just said that this is the first case of its kind, a judicial inquiry into a sitting judge president on allegations of sexual harassment. What does this do for the judiciary, Dr. Swemmer, in a context where there have been question marks around perhaps particular people, particular decisions, and just the reputation of our judiciary, which has really been the shining star of our democracy over the past decades?
So my view is that this is fantastic. Whether the individual is found guilty of the misconduct or not, it is saying that our judiciary is made up of individuals who may also be exploitative in their power. Mm-hmm. And to say that we are not going to gloss over this or bury this in the shadows is incredible. And this is a very important thing to have happened. Either way it goes, it is saying that we will not tolerate at least allegations of these kinds, and we will get to the bottom of it. So I actually think, which may be a difficult or radical thing to say, it is a fantastic movement in having these types of tribunals, in having these types of systems work, because it would be naive to think that individuals, maybe in the judiciary or other spheres, are not exploiting their powers. And it's important for us to shine a light on this.
Absolutely. Dr. Sheena Swemmer, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. Dr. Swemmer is the head of the Gender Justice Program at the Center for Applied Legal Studies at Wits University. The tribunal itself has been postponed, or rather adjourned for the day.